If you had told me that the night I tried to build a forever would be the night it all burned to ash, I would have laughed. I would have said you were being dramatic. But now, every time I smell basil or hear champagne corks pop, I feel it all again, the moment my world quietly collapsed in front of everyone I loved. My name is Lena Collins, and I'm 29 years old. I used to believe I had everything figured out, a job I loved, a family that adored me, and a man who felt like home. The private dining room at Giovanni's glowed in warm amber light. Strings of fairy bulbs framed the ceiling, and my mom's laughter mixed with the clinking of cutlery and the soft melody from a violinist in the corner. It was perfect everything, exactly as I'd planned. Tonight wasn't just a family dinner. It was a celebration of my parents' 30th anniversary and my mom's 60th birthday, a double milestone that deserved something unforgettable. But for me, it was more than that. Tonight I wanted to make my boyfriend Gordon Carter a permanent part of our family. My brother Eric sat across from me, teasing his fiancée about her terrible Italian pronunciation. My dad told corny jokes that made my mom roll her eyes and laugh anyway. Even my cousin Ava, always glued to her phone, looked up to capture a few happy photos. It was one of those rare golden evenings where everything felt right, warm, safe, untouched by the world's ugliness. Gordon sat beside me, looking every bit like the man I thought I'd grow old with. He had that easy charm that drew people in confident funny, in that subtle way that never tried too hard. He'd spent half the evening chatting with my father about classic cars and making my mom blush with compliments. He just fit. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, the sleeves rolled slightly at the elbows, relaxed, effortless, comfortable. His hand brushed mine under the table more than once, and each time it sent a quiet warmth through me. I was nervous, but it was a good kind of nervous, the kind that comes right before something beautiful. Inside my clutch, hidden between my phone and a folded napkin, was a small velvet box. My grandmother's ring. A thin gold band with a single modest diamond. It wasn't flashy, but it had a quiet history passed down through the women in my family for generations. Every one of them had found lasting love with it. I wanted to be next. Dinner wound down. Plates cleared. The room filled with easy conversation and laughter. I glanced at Eric. He caught my eye and gave me the faintest nod. He knew what was coming. I took a deep breath. My heart thudded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Everyone, I said, tapping my glass lightly. Before dessert, I just want to say a few words. The room quieted. My mom's eyes softened with that gentle curiosity mothers have. My dad leaned back, smiling proudly. Tonight's special, I began, my voice trembling just slightly. 30 years of love, patience, and partnership. Mom. Dad, you've shown me what it means to build a life together. You've shown me that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other, even when it's hard. My mom teared up, dabbing her eyes with a napkin. My father reached over and squeezed her hand. And you, I continued, turning to Gordon. You've taught me what it feels like to be truly seen. For 5 years, you've been my best friend, my safe place, the one who makes me believe in forever. So tonight I want to take a leap, one that I've thought about for a long time. I pushed my chair back and stood. My knees felt weak, but my smile didn't falter. I reached into my clutch, pulled out the velvet box, and dropped to one knee. Gasps rippled across the table. My mom's hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide with joy. My dad's smile grew a proud, knowing look. Ava was already filming on her phone, whispering, "Oh my God, she's doing it." Gordon froze. For a moment, I thought it was shock. Then I saw the flicker of irritation in his eyes. I opened the box, my voice shaking but full of love. "Gordon Carter," I said softly. "Will you marry me?" The silence that followed wasn't romantic. It was sharp, unforgiving. Gordon exhaled a loud, theatrical sigh and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Lena," he muttered, his tone flat. "God, this is awkward." A nervous laugh bubbled somewhere down the table, then died immediately. My heartbeat turned into a dull roar in my ears. "Awkward," I repeated quietly. He pushed his chair back and stood. His voice was calm, but every word cut like glass. "Get up, Lena. Please. You're making a scene." The air in the room vanished. My dad frowned, his voice stern. "Gordon, what are you?" Gordon held up a hand. "I can't do this. I can't pretend." He looked down at me, not with pity, but annoyance. "I didn't want to say it like this, but you forced my hand." My fingers trembled on the open ring box. "Say what?" He hesitated, then said it, his tone brutally casual. "I'm seeing someone else. Her name's Jenna." The words dropped like a stone into a still pond. My mom's hand slipped from her glass water, spilling silently across the tablecloth. My father's jaw locked tight. Behind me, Ava gasped, phone shaking in her hands. I stared up at him, my mouth dry. What? Gordon sighed again, like a man explaining something tedious. It's been 6 months. I didn't plan for this to come out like this, but you should know. The world blurred. Every sound, the clinking plates, the violin, the breath of people watching turned into static. 6 months. Half a year. Half a year of lies, of fake smiles, of him kissing me goodbye while texting her goodnight. My voice barely worked. You brought me here. Knowing this, he looked away. I didn't want to ruin your parents' night. My dad shot up from his chair, but my mom gripped his arm, eyes brimming with tears. And suddenly the numbness set in. The shock evaporated, replaced by a terrifying clarity. I closed the ring box slowly, the soft click echoing in the silence. It sounded final, like a door closing. Thank you for your honesty, I said quietly. My voice calm but foreign, like it belonged to someone else. Then I stood, smoothed my dress, and turned to my parents. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry I ruined your night. My mother shook her head, whispering, no, sweetheart, but I didn't let her finish. I placed the box gently on the table beside my untouched dessert, gave my brother a small, broken smile, and walked out. No yelling, no tears, just silence. The sound of my heels on the marble floor was the only thing that followed me out into the cold October air. The night that was supposed to begin my forever had just ended it, and as the door closed behind me, I heard someone inside whisper, Ava, stop filming. But it was too late. The world already had my story, and soon I'd realize it wasn't mine anymore. For the first 2 days, I didn't leave my apartment. The world outside felt like a place I no longer belonged to, too loud, too cruel, too alive. I just lay on the couch in the same dress I wore that night, staring at the ceiling as time blurred into nothing. My phone buzzed endlessly, but I couldn't bring myself to look at it. Not the calls, not the messages, not even the soft knocks on my door from my brother. When I finally turned it on, I was greeted by hundreds of missed notifications, texts from family, friends, and numbers I didn't even recognize. But one stood out, a message from my cousin Ava. Lena, please don't freak out, but the video's everywhere. You need to see this. My stomach dropped. For a moment, I couldn't even move. Then, trembling, I opened the link she'd sent. It was a video on TikTok. The caption read, When you propose to the love of your life and find out he's been cheating for 6 months. Team Lena #Shahab Proposalgate. It had over 2.3 million views. There I was on screen, smiling nervously, giving my speech about love, and forever my voice cracking as I knelt on one knee. And then Gordon's sigh, his expression of mild annoyance, his words crystal clear, I'm seeing someone else. I watched myself freeze lips, trembling eyes wide and glassy, watched my mother's hand fly to her mouth, watched Gordon's face twist with the kind of irritation that people usually reserve for an overcooked meal. And then I watched myself close the ring box and walk away. The clip ended there, but the comment section was still scrolling by, faster than I could read. Who does that to someone in front of her family? She handled it like a queen. Didn't even cry. Absolute power move. That man deserves to lose everything. The calm, thank you for your honesty, was colder than the Arctic. I love her. I set the phone down, heart pounding. This wasn't just a video, it was a wildfire. Ava called seconds later. Her voice was shaking. Lena, it's gone viral. Like really viral. You're trending on Twitter. Everyone's calling Gordon a sociopath. I didn't know whether to laugh or vomit. All I could whisper was, why would you post that? I didn't mean for it to blow up, she said quickly. I wanted people to see what he did to you. He humiliated you in front of everyone, Lena. You didn't deserve that. Her voice cracked. You were so calm, so strong. People are rooting for you. Rooting for me. That word felt strange, unreal. I opened Twitter, and there it was. #Team Lena, trending at number 3 worldwide. Memes, reaction videos, duets. Someone had even edited slow-motion footage of me standing up with dramatic piano music and the caption. The moment she realized she didn't need him. The internet had decided who the villain was. And for once, it wasn't me. Gordon's social media accounts had already been flooded with comments. You broke her heart on camera. Hope your side chick enjoys unemployment. The internet never forgets. I felt a strange, dizzying mix of satisfaction and guilt. Yes, he deserved it, but I hadn't wanted this. The video was everywhere. My heartbreak was now public property. My mom called next, her voice trembling. Oh, honey, I saw the video, the comments. It's awful what he did, but people are supporting you. Strangers even. I don't want support, I whispered. I just want it to stop. But it didn't. By the next day, news outlets were reposting it under headlines like "Woman proposes to boyfriend, his cruel response breaks the internet." Gordon's workplace, a major consulting firm, released a statement distancing themselves from his personal conduct. And Jenna, the woman he'd left me for, deleted all her social media. A few days later, a new post appeared on Gordon's now private Instagram. Sometimes relationships end because people want different things. Please respect my privacy. The comments destroyed him. Different things like honesty. You mean she wanted loyalty and you wanted attention. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of being the face of a story I never wanted told. Even at work, people whispered. The receptionist smiled awkwardly when I walked in, as if unsure whether to congratulate or console me. My boss called me into his office, offering a sympathetic smile. Take a few days off, Lena. The world's watching right now. You don't owe anyone your story. But that was the thing, I didn't have control of my story anymore. That night, I sat on my balcony scrolling through the endless stream of posts. One caught my eye, a tweet that simply said, "She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked away. That's power." I stared at it for a long time, the words blurring. Maybe power didn't look like revenge. Maybe it looked like silence. When my phone buzzed again, I thought it was Ava, but it wasn't. It was an unknown number. You think humiliating me online makes you better than me? You've ruined my life, Lena. I hope you're happy. Gordon. For a moment, I just stared at his message, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then I typed one sentence. You ruined your own life, Gordon. The internet just showed everyone. I hit send, blocked his number, and finally exhaled. The city outside hummed cars, music, laughter, all still moving, uncaring. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something strange creeping in beneath the exhaustion. Peace, because while Gordon was losing control of his image, I was slowly reclaiming mine. If I'd learned anything in those weeks after the video went viral, it was this: karma doesn't always come fast, but when it does, it's merciless. By the time a month passed, Gordon's name was everywhere. Screenshots of his old posts, the ones about loyalty and integrity, were being shared with captions like, "Oh, the irony." Every brand he'd worked with dropped him. His firm suspended him pending internal review. And Jenna, well, she'd gone from smug to silent in record time. At first, I avoided reading about them. I didn't want to feed that part of myself that still cared, the part that wanted to know how bad things had gotten. But curiosity is a cruel thing. One night I found myself searching his name. There it was, a screenshot from Jenna's since-deleted Instagram story. Some people build their careers on manipulation. When the truth comes out, don't say I didn't warn you. So now they were turning on each other, publicly. The perfect couple imploding for everyone to see. I should have felt victorious, but instead I felt hollow. Their downfall didn't make me feel healed. It just reminded me of the wreckage we'd all left behind. My therapist, Dr. Morgan, had warned me about this. You can't rebuild by waiting for others to collapse, she'd said, tapping her pen gently against her notebook. You have to build for yourself, not against them. So I tried. I poured myself into work. I started leading a new campaign, an urban renewal project that paired small local artists with new public spaces. It was the kind of creative, hopeful thing I'd always dreamed of doing. Each morning I walked into the office determined to act like I was okay, and for the most part I was, until the day I opened my inbox and saw a name that made my stomach twist. Jenna Brooks. The subject line read, "You win." Against my better judgment, I clicked. You've ruined my life. I lost my job. My family won't even talk to me. Marco dumped me after that video. Everyone hates me. You didn't have to let your cousin post it. You could have stopped this. I read it 3 times, each word more venomous than the last. It wasn't remorse. It was resentment. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry for what she lost. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. A dozen replies burned in my mind. Things I wanted to say, things I'd never said that night, but instead I closed the laptop, because answering her would mean opening the door again, and I'd finally started to close it. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a voice I hadn't heard in months came through the speaker. Lena, this is Margaret Carter, Gordon's mother. I froze. Mrs. Carter. Her tone was tight, polite, in the way sharp knives are polished. I'm calling because I thought you should know Gordon hasn't been the same since that incident. He lost his job, his reputation, everything. I swallowed, unsure what to say. I'm sorry to hear that. She ignored it. I just think it's cruel what your cousin did. Posting that video. You might think it was justice, but what it did to him was what I cut in my voice low. A consequence. She exhaled sharply. You always had a way with words, Lena. Maybe that's what made him feel so small. The insult landed like a slap, but I didn't let her have the satisfaction of a reaction. Mrs. Carter, I said quietly, your son lied to me for 6 months. He humiliated me in front of my family, and then he blamed me when the truth came out. Whatever he's going through now, that's not my doing. That's his reflection catching up with him. The silence on the other end was heavy. Then she said coldly, you're just like your cousin. Vindictive. And then she hung up. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, the words echoing. Vindictive. No, not vindictive. Free. That night, I met up with Ava for dinner. She looked nervous, like a kid waiting to get scolded. I'm sorry, she blurted out the moment I sat down. I know posting that video made everything worse. I shook my head. It didn't make it worse. It just made it public. Ava bit her lip. Do you hate me for it? No, I said honestly, because for the first time in a long time, the world saw him for who he really was. I didn't have to explain or justify anything. That's more closure than I ever thought I'd get. She smiled weakly. You're handling this way better than I would. I smiled back, but there was a weight behind it. Because what I didn't tell her was that sometimes when I closed my eyes, I still saw that night, the way he looked down at me, like I was something inconvenient. Healing, I realized, wasn't about forgetting. It was about learning to remember without pain. 3 months passed. I moved into a new apartment, small, bright mine. I deleted the last photos of Gordon from my phone, and I started a new routine, morning runs, evening journaling therapy twice a week. Dr. Morgan had me write something she called a release letter, not to send, just to write. It began with, I forgive you for what you did, but I don't forgive you for pretending you loved me while you did it. By the time I signed my name at the bottom, the tears had stopped. That same week, a message appeared in my inbox. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. Lena, please, I need to see you. Just one conversation. I know I don't deserve it, but I can't stop thinking about what I did to you. Please. Gordon. My fingers hovered over delete, but this time I didn't click it right away. Because for the first time since that night, I didn't feel anger. I felt curiosity. What could a man like that possibly have to say after everything? I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, closure doesn't always come from silence. And with that, I typed a single reply. Tomorrow, Cafe Meriden, noon. I told myself it was just curiosity, that I didn't care anymore, that meeting Gordon one last time would finally close the door, seal it shut so I could move on completely. But the truth. A part of me wanted to look him in the eye and make him see what he'd broken. The next day, I walked into Cafe Meriden exactly at noon. It was quiet, tucked away on a narrow street lined with old trees and glass windows fogged by the cold. I'd chosen it on purpose, neutral ground. No memories, no meaning. Gordon was already there, sitting by the window, staring into a half-empty cup. He looked smaller. His once polished hair was disheveled, his suit rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. The confident man who'd humiliated me in front of a crowd now looked like a ghost of himself. When he saw me, he stood awkwardly, almost too fast. Lena, he breathed a sad smile, tugging at his lips. You came. I said I would. I replied, my tone even. I didn't sit right away, just looked at him, really looked. It wasn't pity I felt. It was distance, like staring at a stranger who happened to share a face I used to love. He gestured to the seat across from him. Please. I sat. The silence between us was heavy, filled with everything unsaid. The ghosts of promises, the weight of betrayal, the echo of that awful sigh in the restaurant. He spoke first. I don't know where to start. Try the beginning, I said simply. He ran a hand through his hair. I messed up. Badly. I know that. I've spent months trying to make sense of why I did what I did. I guess I got scared. I almost laughed. Scared of what Gordon being loved. He winced. No, of being seen. You knew me too well. You knew every flaw, every failure, and you still looked at me like I was better than I was. I couldn't handle that kind of pressure. I stared at him. So instead of talking to me, you cheated. He flinched like the word physically hurt him. It wasn't supposed to happen. Jenna was? Don't I cut him off sharply. Don't say her name like it was a mistake you tripped into. You made a choice. Every day. For 6 months. He sighed. You're right. Something in me stirred, not compassion, but clarity. For years, I'd built him up in my mind as something extraordinary, clever, composed, charming. But sitting there, he looked ordinary. A man terrified of accountability. He leaned forward, his voice low. I see you on TV sometimes. The interviews, the features about the proposal video. Everyone calls you brave. That wasn't bravery, I said quietly. That was survival. He nodded, slowly, eyes glassy. Still. You look good. Happier. I am, I said simply. That's when his mask cracked. His expression twisted, part regret, part envy. I lost everything, Lena, he whispered. My job, my reputation, even my friends. Do you know what that's like? Yes, I said, I do. I lived it first. For a second, neither of us spoke. The rain outside began to fall, streaking the window beside us. Then his voice dropped lower, almost pleading. I just thought maybe there's still something between us. Some part of you that... I stopped him right there. Gordon, don't. He looked at me confused. Don't what? Don't rewrite this story, I said softly but firmly. You didn't love me. You loved what I did for you. The way I made you feel like the best version of yourself even when you were lying to me. That's not love. That's ego. He blinked his throat, working like he couldn't swallow. I'm not that person anymore. Maybe not, I said, leaning back. But I'm not the woman you left either. For a long moment, all I heard was the patter of rain and the faint hum of the espresso machine. Then he said something that made my stomach turn. You know, when that video went viral, I thought about ending it. The words hit like a slap. My chest tightened. What? He looked up, his voice cracking. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't show my face anywhere. People I'd known for years cut me off. I lost everything, Lena. I thought maybe if I disappeared, it would all stop. I froze, unsure how to respond. I didn't hate him, not enough to want that, but I also couldn't forget what he'd done. I took a slow breath. I'm sorry you felt that way. But what happened wasn't just about you. You didn't just break your own life, you broke mine too. The difference is, I built something from the wreckage. He lowered his eyes, whispering, I know. And that's why I reached out. To tell you I see it now. I ruined the best thing I ever had. I wanted to believe him. For a second, I almost did. But then he looked up with that same old look, the one that always tried to twist guilt into sympathy. I just thought, he murmured, maybe we could start over. That did it. Any trace of compassion evaporated. I stood my chair, scraping softly against the floor. Gordon, you didn't come here to apologize. You came here because you're lonely. You miss the version of yourself that existed when I still believed in you. But I don't anymore. He rose halfway from his seat, desperate. Lena, please. I shook my head. No, you taught me something I'll never forget. He swallowed hard. What's that? That peace, I said quietly, is worth more than closure. For a heartbeat, we just stood there, him broken and reaching, me finally free. Then I turned and walked out into the rain. No tears, no shaking, just calm. Behind me through the glass, I saw him sink back into his chair, shoulders slumped, head in his hands. And for the first time, I realized I didn't need him to understand my pain. It was enough that I did. That night, as I lay in bed, the sound of the rain still in my ears, I felt something shift inside me. Not revenge, not triumph. Something quieter. Release. A year can change everything. Not the kind of change that comes with grand gestures or cinematic moments, but quiet, steady shifts. The kind that sneak up on you while you're too busy rebuilding yourself to notice. 12 months after that night at Café Meriden, I found myself standing under golden lights again. But this time, it wasn't a dinner filled with betrayal. It was the City Design Awards Gala, a celebration of creativity, resilience, and renewal. My project, the Haven Initiative, a community art space built for women recovering from loss, had been nominated for Project of the Year. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who once thought she needed love to be whole had built something that helped others find strength on their own. I stood near the edge of the ballroom, the low hum of conversation buzzing around me. My reflection shimmered faintly in the mirrored walls. Sleek black gown, hair swept back, the faintest hint of red lipstick. I didn't recognize the woman staring back, and that realization made me smile. Because I'd finally become someone I didn't have to explain. Lena, a voice called softly behind me. I turned to see Ryan, my colleague and co-lead on the project. Calm eyes, gentle smile. The kind of man who didn't speak to fill silence, but to honor it. He handed me a glass of champagne. You ready? Ready for what I teased. For them to say your name in about 30 seconds. I laughed, shaking my head. You're way too confident. Not confidence, he said. Just facts. The host's voice boomed through the speakers. And the award for Project of the Year goes to the Haven Initiative, led by Lena Collins and Ryan Parker. For a moment, everything stopped. The room, the applause, even my heartbeat. Then I heard it, the roar of clapping the cheers, the bright sound of my name filling the air. I walked to the stage under a canopy of light, my heart steady. Ryan squeezed my shoulder. Before I took the mic, his voice low. You earned this. I smiled, and for once I believed it. Thank you, I began. This project started as an idea born from pain, a place where women could turn their heartbreak into art, their grief into creation. I didn't know at the time that I was really building it for myself, too. Because sometimes the walls we design for others end up saving us. Applause thundered, cameras flashed, but all I felt was peace. Afterward, the ballroom buzzed with congratulations. I floated from one conversation to another, all warm smiles and laughter. And then I saw him. Across the room, Gordon. He stood near the back, slightly apart from the crowd, a drink in hand, his posture hesitant. He wasn't in a tux like the other guests, just a dark suit, slightly wrinkled. There were lines on his face that hadn't been there before. For a moment, our eyes met, and just like that, the noise faded, replaced by the ghost of 1,000 memories I'd already buried. He started toward me, slowly weaving through the crowd. I didn't move. Lena, he said when he reached me. His voice was quiet, almost reverent. Congratulations. Thank you, I replied evenly. It's been a long road. He nodded, eyes flicking toward the stage. You did it. You really turned it all around. I had to, I said softly. Nobody else was going to do it for me. He gave a humorless chuckle. You look happy. Different. I am. He hesitated, searching my face. I've thought about what I said that night, what I did, every day. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. He continued, his tone low. You know, when everything fell apart, I told myself I hated that video. But after a while, I realized it saved me too. It forced me to see what kind of man I'd become. I looked at him then, not with anger, but with the kind of distant empathy you feel for someone standing on the shore while you've already sailed away. I'm glad you finally saw it, I said. He swallowed. Do you ever think about us, about what could have been? I smiled gently. I used to. But I realized I wasn't missing us. I was missing the version of myself who believed love had to hurt to be real. He blinked, caught off guard. That's not fair. No, I said, it's honest. He looked at me for a long time, the kind of look people give when they know it's the last time they'll ever see you this way. Then he nodded, his voice breaking. You deserve better, Lena. You always did. I know, I said quietly, and now I finally believe it too. He started to say something else, but a voice called my name, Ryan's. When I turned toward him, Gordon took a step back, realizing the moment was over. Ryan joined me, smiling. They're waiting for you press photos. He nodded politely to Gordon, then turned to me. You okay? I looked at Gordon one last time. He was already turning away, swallowed by the crowd. Yeah, I said softly. I'm okay. Ryan smiled. Good, because I think this is only the beginning for you. I exhaled slowly. Feels like it. As we walked toward the photographers, flashes went off, bright, blinding, alive. I didn't look back. Not once. Because the thing about closure is it doesn't always come from confrontation. Sometimes it comes from simply moving forward. The applause, the laughter, the lights, they weren't about revenge or validation. They were about peace, about becoming someone I could be proud of. And as I stood under the camera lights, smiling beside Ryan, I realized something profound. The same world that once watched me break was now watching me rise, this time on my own terms. They called me the girl who got rejected on camera. That was how it started. My heartbreak turned into headlines. My humiliation compressed into a viral clip that millions watched, shared, and dissected. But that's not who I am anymore, because what the internet didn't see was everything that came after. They didn't see me learning to breathe again after the silence stopped hurting. They didn't see the nights I stayed up rebuilding myself, one boundary, one choice, one honest word at a time. And they didn't see the moment I realized that forgiveness isn't about setting someone else free. It's about setting yourself free. The video that broke my heart ended up giving me something priceless. A voice. Months after the gala, I stood in front of a small crowd at the opening of the Haven Initiative. It was a crisp spring morning. Sunlight poured through the glass walls, scattering across paintings, sculptures, and poetry, written by women who had turned their pain into art. I stepped up to the mic, looking at the faces in front of me, faces that carried the same mix of fragility and fire that I used to see in my own reflection. I once thought my life ended in a restaurant, I began, but it didn't. It just changed direction. Pain doesn't mean your story's over, it just means you're finally being rewritten. There was a stillness in the air, the kind that comes when words sink deep instead of passing by. After the event, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 23. Her hands trembled as she spoke. I saw your video when I was going through my breakup, she said. I thought I'd never recover, but watching you stand back up, It made me believe I could too. I smiled, tears blurring my vision, because in her I saw the person I used to be and the woman I'd become. Later that evening, I sat in my office staring out at the city skyline. The building lights shimmered like constellations, and somewhere down below, life kept moving, messy, unpredictable, beautiful. A soft knock on my door pulled me from my thoughts. It was Ryan holding 2 cups of coffee, his sleeves rolled up, his smile gentle. "You're still here," he said. "Big day." I grinned. Couldn't leave just yet. I like seeing it alive. He placed a cup on my desk and leaned against the doorway. "You know, I've watched people talk about that video for months. But what they don't realize is that you're not famous because of how you were broken, you're known because of how you rebuilt." I didn't answer right away. I just let the warmth of his words settle. "Ryan," I said after a moment, "do you ever think about how strange it is? The world saw the worst night of my life, and somehow it led to the best version of me." He smiled softly. Maybe that's how transformation always works, breaking first, then becoming. We stood there in the quiet glow of the office, the city stretching endlessly beyond the glass. No dramatic music, no grand gesture, just peace. After he left, I sat down at my desk and opened my journal, the same one I'd started in therapy a year ago. On the first page, I'd written, "I forgive you, Gordon, not because you deserve peace, but because I do." Tonight, I turned to the last page and wrote, "You taught me that love built on lies will always collapse. You taught me that silence can be stronger than revenge. And you taught me that sometimes losing everything you thought you needed is the only way to find what you truly are." I closed the book feeling the weight of the words and how light I'd become since writing them. As I locked up and stepped outside, the night air felt soft against my skin. Somewhere across town, maybe Gordon was sitting in another cafe, haunted by the same memories I'd finally made peace with. But that wasn't my concern anymore. Because the story wasn't his anymore, it was mine. I looked up at the skyline one last time, the city lights reflecting in my eyes like stars. "Once I thought I needed someone to choose me," I whispered. "Now I know I was always enough on my own." And with that, I walked forward, not into a perfect